Everything? Okay. Well, I'll just start at the beginning and I'll go through whatever I have. And in the earliest times, people all over the world had stone toes. I don't care which part of the world you came from, your ancestors somewhere used stone toes. So, I'll take and pop this rock and make a sharp tool real quick. All you have to do is whack it, and then you come up with these edges on it where it breaks off.
What stone is that?
It's sharp or flint, so you can use that to skin an animal, cut it up for dinner, or carve a piece of wood if you need to. And to make a spear point, you can thin it down by whacking it with the rock some more. Or you can make a deer antler. Deer antlers are tough, but they're not quite as hard. This produces the first hazardous waste to people. If you think about this broken rock, it's a lot like broken glass. So, if you're running around barefooted or with thin-soled shoes, this could be a real hazard. It's still hazardous today. We have lawnmowers that sling the chips, and people get cut. If you didn't have a tetanus shot and antibiotics, it'd still be fatal. So what I'm trying to do is reduce the thickness of it and this big thick edge here before I get started shaping it into a spear point. But I've already decided that the longest direction I can make a spear point is this direction here. And so I have a rounded edge here that's as difficult as a thick edge, so I've got to work on that also. I'll go through here, spilling the edges. Hey. Thinning down the thick parts. If I dull the edges a little bit, I can get a better grip with the antler when it hits and it'll take off the thicker flight. It's called a prepared platform in archaeology. That way I set up my flight when you take the other direction and get it to go. Okay. Make it that wide. Bend it down a little bit. And then take the flight that wide. That wide.
Have you ever tried that?
Now I'm going to start shaping it towards the point here. Highly recommend gloves and goggles. If you don't wear them, take your fingers with you to the emergency room and hope your eyes don't get hit, because they can't fix eyes as well as they can fingers. But I'm getting the shape that I want. It's getting pointy and sharp edged. I don't recommend doing this indoors. Not only is it messy, but the dust it creates needs to fly away, because it gets in your circulation system in your house be there forever. It's silicone, so it could produce silicosis. So I have a point in, sharp cutting edge down the sides, and a change technique. I'm going to use pressure flaking. I don't particularly like pressure flaking, but it's a lot more interesting to whack it with an antler. So pressure flaking, you take a deer antler and position it like that. My thumbs are double jointed, so I can't do the normal way of pushing it the way people do. I broke the bottom off, so let's straighten that up.
Yeah, I did too.
Gets a little shorter that line. Try that again.
bullet would hurt, but that could do a lot more damage. Yeah, really. Yeah, I know how it does a lot.
So, if you wanted to go hunting with it, you put it on the end of the stick. And you can launch it with your bare hand like this, throw it like that. But you might also want to use an outlighter, which is essentially just the hook on the end of the stick. And you can use that to flip the spear.
Excuse me, one more time and I'll oh my God.
You take this hook, it's like casting with your fishing rod. You take the end of the stick and it actually launches the spear and gives you longer arms, more leverage. And you can throw it harder and farther and faster. So, I think if there's not much traffic, I'll throw one across the street.
There you go, man.
If I launch it from here and I push from there, I'll be lucky to get much further than across the street and up the hill a little bit. It's pretty good with the bare hand. Now if you take this outliner and you launch it away on the car, they're turning. Both areas are clear. I'll launch it
Wow. Big difference. Wow.
So that's a pretty good increase on abilities. You get it through a lot harder and farther and faster with this atlatl.
What are you calling it?
Atlatl, ATL, ATL. Atlatl. You cannot say it correctly in English. It's a Nahuatl Indian word. So it's got a guttural stop in your throat, like a G and a T. So,
Right.
yeah. During the Archaic period, the atlatl was the most important weapon around, probably. It's long before they had bows and arrows. So the atlatl was able to make you a whole lot easier to get dinner.
What type of wood did they use for this?
Those are
What tree?
ash. I use river cane sometimes. River cane makes nice straight sticks. And we have different places use different kinds of wood, of course. Hickory would be a good one to use. That's a hickory sapling. I've used a dogwood sapling before. Just something long and straight and fairly strong is important. Springiness is also a good trait. So when you're pushing on it, it kind of locks in a little bit of energy. I'll just move that out of the way. And anyway, the atlatl was one of the early tools. By the archaic time period, they were using fires really regularly, and we find rocks with little sockets in the top. Those rocks with the sockets illustrate bow drill. And I'm not sure I'm going to do a fire today, but we'll see. Do we have a smoke detector around?
Yeah, right above it.
I have done that before in a school. They usually warn me of the smoke detectors. Okay, I'll use that to pat my knee because I don't want flip chips in it. A little bit of pine needles, something to burn. I'm going to try that baseboard. It looks like it was successful at one time. And I'll try this dowel. Sometimes they're like kids that don't play with each other. You can put two things together, they won't work. You swap a little bit around and they work really well. It's been a few months since I've done this, so I'm a little bit out of practice.
I can smell it.
You see about how it works. A little bit longer dowel works better. Like I'm about to wear this one out.
Is that a stone you're holding in your hand?
It's actually a piece of oak. It's hardwood.
But on top, yeah, it's a stone.
Instead of the stone, I have a piece of wood.
Oh, okay. I thought you had a stone.
I
Oh,
do.
that's big, okay.
That's the one with the socket. The socket on that one lets it fly out even easier. And I burned almost through my wood here. So it gets hot if I use that hole. I'm trying to develop a new hole on there. Anyway, one more try and I'm going to be tired.
I bet if you did that every day, you'd become very proficient at it.
Well, if my life depended on it, yeah.
Did you clarify that It was not for
Did I
this
get it?
that was just how she did it.
No.
Still smoking, but it's going to go out.
That's the way the Vikings.
I'm close.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it
Fort
is.
Payne, Alabama, and Hunts.
Scotland, shut it all.
One more time.
Yeah.
Most people get excited at that part and they pick it up and they do something with it and then it busts. But I can take a breather for a second because I've got the hot coal. And now, let's see if I can blow it into a flame.
I'm going to try that one time just because I want to be able to do it.
Yeah.
You guys can come this way if you need to.
So what do you do if you catch on fire? Hurry, tell me.
Stomp it out.
No, you don't stop. You stop, drop, and roll if you're on fire.
Oh yeah, if you're on fire.
I said if you catch on fire.
You stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah. So
Jump in the creek.
it's a long ways to the creek. You're gonna fan a lot of flames when you get to the creek. If you're right there at the pool, that's fine. But
Dad caught on fire one time. He was putting some gas in the carburetor.
so in archaeology, we find little clues to what happened. Sometimes we'll find things like an outlaw way to tell us the story about an outlaw. This one's broken up pretty good. It looks like a real artifact now. Kids have handled it for 30-something years. And we find these little rocks with the holes in them. Now, the way the holes are made tells the story of how they were used and stuff. And that one's just a natural rock I picked up and I used it a little bit. Now it has a little bit of wear in the hole. By the woodland time period, people were having a pretty interesting life. They had pottery, bows and arrows, a round rock with a hole in it, which some argue that it was a spindle whorl for spinning yarn, and some argue that it was a pump drill for drilling holes. The difference between the bow drill and the pump drill, the bow drill you keep a constant weight going down as you go both directions. This one, when it's going one way, it's getting pressure, but the other way, it has to, half of the stroke is actually relaxed. It doesn't have pressure on it because you got to let your handle come up.
My sister was just saying the things you're demonstrating, they also demonstrated in the Shetland Islands when she was over there last year. So all of the origins of all this seems to be the same
That
all
was
over the
the
world.
Vikings.
Different time periods, but the same.
Yeah, yeah. And she made holes like that.
Yeah.
Well, hell no, like,
Oh, thank you.
here I need water.
Yeah, she just had some.
Well, he brought out a whole big thing of water.
Thank you so much.
Leave it there. Had a lot of animals.
No, she
So,
made-
you know, in archaeology at Russell Cave, we found a round rock with a hole in the
Drinking
middle.
out of your container, and I said, I'm gonna go get some
And,
water, and I saw it. I seen those advertisements.
So that tells the story of some way of a spindle whorl. We don't usually find playthings often, but we do find in the Mississippian time period we have round rocks that are cookie shaped and you roll them and toss sticks at them. It's called the chunky game. And I play chunky with the school kids when they come to the park. And these are cores out of the vase, tombstone vases, and I cut them. It's a long rod, and I cut it up like cookie dough with the rock saw, and then we can have chunky stones. The Cherokees in Oklahoma are having a chunky stone revival. They have the Cherokee Chunky Players Facebook group. Do you want to see the chunky stone? You can still see my saw marks on it. I didn't develop it into a fully polished and a correctly shaped chunky stone. If I lose it in the grass or the weeds, I want it to be known that that's not an artifact. You know, that's the reason I do my flint chipping on the blanket, so I can clean up all the mess rather quickly, and I don't leave any artifacts laying. It's very important to archaeology. Somebody came out and flint napped in the park and left a mess like this, and the archaeologists came by and blamed me for it. Not only did they blame me, but contaminated an area so that we don't know if there was any original archaeology there or not, because we wouldn't know what everybody did there. In the Mississippian time period, in the plazas between the mounds, like at Moundville, they have these great big post holes at each end of the big plaza. And that was for the stickball game, where they'd toss balls back and forth to, and sometimes they'd have as many as 80 people on a team. And can you imagine 80 to 100 people, maybe 160, chasing this little ball and whacking each other with sticks and trying to get that ball and throw it and hit a pole with it? It was called Little Brothers War by the Cherokees because it was a very violent game. They were able to settle arguments with it instead of having a fight. And I think that could be a good idea. I mean, why can't we just, instead of having Olympic games, let's have a game to settle our differences with other countries instead of bombing each other.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
You know, that's one of the things the Mississippian people did. During the woodland of Mississippian time, they started trading for interesting things. Everybody knows what a copper penny looks like, so they did this copper work. And this actually is a Mississippian piece. It's a copy of a Mississippian piece from Arkansas. And can y'all tell me what that is? Count the legs, it'll give you a clue. You count the body parts, it'll give you a misleading clue.
A spider.
It's a spider.
Is it a spider?
It is. Body parts give you a misleading clue because that's not a spider's middle part in the middle of it. Have you all ever heard this Cherokee story of how the Cherokees and other Indians got fire? Anybody ever hear that story? Good. I won't tear it up too bad for you because I'm really bad at this story. But there was this group of people, and back in the earliest days when you could talk to the animals,
like it, don't it?
and you could go out and talk to them, and then their fire went out. They weren't able to build fires like me, and so they had to have fire when lightning struck. So the lightning struck this big island and a big river, and they couldn't swim that far to go get it. And they called the council with all the animals and asked the animals, "Come help us get some fire. You know, we're cold, we're hungry, it's in the dark and at night, and we need some fire." And so the animals said, "Well, yeah, we can do that for you." The first one went over there, and it made this sound like caw, 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 caw. It was a beautiful rainbow-colored bird. Do you know what kind of bird it was?
The raven today.
Huh?
The raven today.
The raven today. And the reason that it's black now is because it flew over there and it flew around in all the smoke and it turned it black. And to this day, if you see a raven's feather or a crow feather up close,